meeting going. Just to say hello for myself and introduce myself, my name is Suzanne Jeffery and I'm Chair of the Campaign Against Climate Change Trade Union Group. We thought, for pretty obvious reasons, that it would be worth us having this meeting and beginning a conversation about something that is important as the third runway, and perhaps trying to pull out some of the discussion that we don't hear a great deal about in the press. It's obviously an issue that for trade unions has posed some challenges, what can appear to be mutually contradictory things: to care about the environment but also to look out for the question of jobs as well. It'd be nice maybe if we could just get the meeting going with these two speakers, and then we'll bring other people in if and as they arrive. I want to introduce first of all Kerry Abel. This is John Stewart over here, but let me start with Kerry. Unfortunately, Manuel Cortez from the TSSA was advertised to speak at tonight's meeting. He's been unable to come along. But Kerry Abel, who is the Communications Officer of the TSSA, is representing the union tonight and what the union had to say on this issue. And I'd really like to hand over to Kerry to kick off the meeting.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to give Manuel's apologies. Obviously, you know, he's been heavily involved in some of this stuff. So thank you for having me. And I wanted to be here to make sure we can give TSSA support and be part of this conversation, have an opportunity for us to lay out our case. Because I think it's not so difficult for a transport union to be in favour of environmental travel. We're a public transport union and we support the People's Railway. And I think that means investing in infrastructure. We need to invest in more rail infrastructure. John McDonnell, who is obviously involved in this campaign, it's his patch. He spoke at our recent annual conference and said investment in infrastructure pays for itself, and I think that's really true. You know, not just for the economy, but for the environment as well. Our economy relies on people and goods moving around the country, and we want to see that done in the safest and the cleanest way possible. We want better track, we want better link up with cities, we want high-speed rail, better quality rail, we want fair, affordable fares, and we want to put freight back on the rail. So all of these things, we would prefer the investment was spent on environmental public transport rather than aviation. We want rail in the public sector and run democratically. Aviation is one of the most deregulated and privatised industries in the country, so it's probably no surprise that the Tories are supporting that over a kind of unionised industry like rail. We see in rail their sort of aviation practices leaking into our industry, like Virgin, and there are rail companies that have borrowed the tactics of aviation, where they don't train any new pilots, they just poach them from other companies, which whacks up the price of train drivers, the analogy, and it upsets the whole sort of balance of equal pay and everything in the industry, and it's just not fair to not train new high level staff. So we want skilled staff. Rail travel safer. I was talking to Fliss earlier. It's still a lot of diesel to even electrified. It's still a lot of power to run a train, but you're not in the air, and the sort of science of not polluting in the sky. We are safer. We've been running for not just decades but centuries, and building on all of that regulation and a lot of the trade unions' role, and particularly some of the recent strikes have been about safety, whatever the press tell you. And we've built up that and perfected it. I think also, as well as being privatised and deregularised, aviation's subsidised to the tune of £9 million in tax breaks, and HGV is subsidised as well by £6.5 billion a year. So there's lots, for some reason, they don't want to spend this money on rail, but that's taking goods and people off the roads and out of the air is beneficial for us and something that we stand for. And also, I was looking at the fuel tax, so planes don't even have to pay. I found this amazing when I read it yesterday, that planes don't anywhere in the world don't have to pay. They're exempt from aviation fuel tax. I think there's an obvious point about emissions, and sorry if I don't want to make too many obvious points, but they've more than doubled since 1990, when we actually need an 80% decrease on them to meet EU limits. So it's totally going in the wrong direction to have more planes in the sky. We want a skilled, greener workforce. I think the nature of the industry means that we're holding people back if we don't invest. I've got an example from an apprentice engineer that's a TSSA member. She was telling me, so she's like 19 and she goes to college, and she also works in a company called Amy that does engineering solutions. Amy's the kind of company that goes up buying all kinds of, it's a sort of venture capitalist company that buys up all kinds of other companies, so you might hear about them, but in this case, she's learning to be a rail engineer, and she told me that at college she's learning the latest software and the most sophisticated sort of technology to solve problems, and then she's going back in the workplace where they're upgrading really old technology and essentially just papering over the cracks. So this is what the privatised industries are doing. They're just kind of bodging things and putting them together. They're not investing in the best technology, the cleanest technology. So I think that we definitely don't want to look towards that as solving the problem. I think we should have more confidence in our vision for a greener, safer public transport system. And I think it's true to say, even in TSSA, we don't talk about this enough. But that's one of the things I wanted to sort of talk about as part of the conversation, even though we kind of agree with all of this and it's beneficial to us, we just don't talk about it. And that might be because of our other comrades in the trade union movement, but I think that we should have confidence in that, we want a public transport system which works for all, not just big business. And I think that when I've looked at the arguments that's come out of the expansion for Heathrow, they've all been pro-business, and they really don't stack up. And when you actually ask them questions, well, how many extra passengers are you expecting? They don't answer the question. What will be the price of how will you pay for this extra investment in building the third runway? Prices are going to go up, aren't they? So I think that we should ask those questions. There are so many better solutions to a third runway. So here's to my call for a people's railway. It's beneficial to passengers, it's beneficial to our members, it's safe travel, it's investment in the economy, it's better for the country, it's better for the environment, and yes, trade unions should oppose a third runway.